Hello and welcome to another Watch Report video review. My name is James Stacy and today we're taking a look at the Victorinox Chrono Classic XLS MT. This is a multi-function in a more subtle package similar to a Tissot T-Touch or a Breitling Aerospace, in that they're packing in all the features you'd expect to find in a Citizen ProMaster or a G-Shock, but they're putting it in a package that's kind of wearable with all sorts of outfits and is much more versatile as far as its styling. So I think there's a lot of merit to a watch like this. Let's take a nice close look and see what we come up with. Okay, so here's the Chrono Classic XLS MT in a little bit more detail. What you can expect to find in this package is a 45.5mm wide case, 11.5mm tall, 55mm lug spacing, it's for a large watch, 23mm lug width, so if you're trying to fit a strap, you'll need to find one that's 23. Most straps come in at 22 or 24. The entire case and bracelet is coated in what Victorinox is calling the black ice PVD coating, and it's basically just a medium gloss or low gloss gunmetal finish. It is really quite nice. You get a sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating. At most angles you can barely tell there's a sapphire there at all, so very well done there on that point. You get dual LCD displays, as this is based on the ETA Thermaline movement, the 988.333 movement, which is also found in the Breitling Aerospace. It's 100-meter water resistant and retails for $11.95. So with a multi-function you'd expect to get, well, a series of functions, and this one's no slouch. You get an alarm, a chronograph, dual time zones, countdown timer, and your typical mix of day, date, or date and seconds. Everything is actuated through this crown, pulling it out to change values on preset features, spinning to cycle through features and such. So right now we're on regular timekeeping, so it keeps time with the hands. If we give it a rotate, you can shut the screens right off, so you have just the hands. Another one will take you through to the alarm. Pulling this out will give you the ability to change the alarm. Setting it back in, pushing it in will turn the alarm off but leave it at its previous setting. You have your chronograph, it's basically the same feature there. Press and hold to reset. Your second time zone, this is set across just basic intervals of time zones. You have your timer. This can be set to any length of time. As you can see, I've been counting down from 23:59 even. The timer is actually featured along with the rest of the watch in Source Code with Jake Gyllenhaal. He was consistently resetting the timer at 8 minutes due to a plot point in the film. In the movie you'll see he had a model that had a grayish black dial, but otherwise the same watch, which is pretty cool. So we'll get in nice and close to take a look at some of the details. Beneath the sapphire crystal you'll see inlaid numerals, which have a nice 3D effect on the dial. The outer ring is kind of a pearl silver. It's really nice, and the middle bridge between the two screens is a more flat white. Gives you some of the information about the watch. The screens are very easily read in direct light or very bright light, but less than that they fall prey to kind of the same faults that any reverse LCD has, in that they don't have the highest contrast that you'll find. So in low light or no light situations, these are next to impossible to read. It definitely would have been nice to have seen the inclusion of a backlight, even if it was kind of the auto EL, so you'd have to raise your wrist to see the readout. It would be helpful in the low light options. Okay, so here's the bracelet. This was one of the few problems I had with the watch. The bracelet has kind of full links that are removable, and then you come down to the micro adjustments. You can see I've removed all the full links and gone down to the micro links or the half links. Because it doesn't have the standard micro adjustments you'd find on a dive watch, I had trouble getting a proper fit from my wrist. I found the watch to move around too much, which causes problems with the crown hitting the back of your wrist. I'll show that off in a moment. Otherwise the bracelet's very nicely finished. It doesn't pull hairs, it doesn't rattle, and it's very strong once in place. You get a nice safety clasp on a deployment, butterfly clasp, which is all very nice. I would like to see at least an option for a standard dive clasp. Okay, so here's the Chrono Classic XLS MT on wrist. You can see that it's not too tall. You definitely be able to get a cuff over its 11.5mm height. It is too long this way, 55 millimeters from top to bottom, is larger than most of my dive watches. And what I found that to happen is when you were using the chronograph, so you could start a measure on the chronograph. This would be the feature I would use the most on a watch like this, and go to reach for something. The watch has to be a little bit higher up your wrist, and because I couldn't get a perfect fit on the bracelet, I couldn't get the watch to stay where I wanted it on my wrist. It's a small problem because I imagine if you had a smaller, larger, or even just a differently shaped wrist than mine, you wouldn't come across this issue, but that crown will be activated by pretty much anything that gives it a strong enough push. So this has been our review of the Chrono Classic XLS MT. Altogether a very nice watch, beautifully made. I love the dial. I love the inclusion of the reverse screens. They're a little bit more stealthy when you shut them off. And you really get a watch that has a nice versatile style. It's very usable. Obviously you don't have a mess of buttons to try and deal with. And the retail price of $11.95, you can find it for quite a bit less online or through a number of different retailers. And at that price point, I would say this is still a pretty good competitor to your Tissot T-Touches, which are also very easy to use, or the Breitling Aerospace, which uses the same or very similar movement as this one. So for Watch Report, my name is James Stacy, and this has been our review of the Chrono Classic XLS MT from Victorinox. Thanks for watching.